When Laura walked out, she left her wedding ring on the kitchen counter and my 4-year-old brother clinging to my leg. My earliest memories are not of playgrounds or bedtime stories, but the low, constant hum of my parents' resentment. They didn't shout, they iced each other out. The house was a museum of cold silences and pointed sighs. My father, David, was an architect who lived in blueprints and calculations. My mother, Laura, was a former piano teacher who had traded sheet music for grocery lists and a quiet, simmering rage. I, Ethan, learned to navigate the emotional minefield by being very, very quiet. I perfected the art of invisibility, a skill that would define much of my childhood. Their divorce, when I was 7, felt less like a rupture and more like a sigh of relief. The tension finally dissipated. The judge, in a rare moment of perceptiveness, saw through my mother's polished, distant demeanor and my father's detached practicality. I was placed in my father's primary custody, with the stipulation that my mother undergo a psychological evaluation. The diagnosis was severe anxiety, disorder paired with a deep-seated narcissistic wound. She was deemed emotionally inconsistent, a verdict she accepted with a chilling, serene smile. She moved an apartment across town, and our visits became sporadic, orchestrated affairs filled with strained conversation and the unspoken question of why I wasn't more upset. My father, to his credit, tried. He was awkward with emotions, but he was constant. We moved into a modern, slightly sterile apartment near his firm. It was clean, quiet, and lonely. He hired a series of housekeepers who came and went. Then, 2 years after the divorce, he met Rebecca. Rebecca was a storm of color and noise in our monochrome world. She was a freelance graphic designer who worked from home, wore bright scarves, and laughed with her whole body. She had a little terrier mix named Buster. At first, she was wonderful. She'd bring me small gifts, interesting rocks, a novelty pen, a book on dinosaurs. She'd ask about my day and actually listen. My father blossomed under her attention. He started laughing more, coming home earlier. For a brief, golden period, I thought I'd finally gotten the family template right. The shift was gradual, like a tide pulling sand from under your feet. It started when she officially moved in. Buster, the dog, was suddenly my responsibility. "It'll teach you commitment, Ethan," she'd chirp. Walking, feeding, cleaning up after him, all mine. I was 9. Then it was my chores. My room was never clean enough. I left a single sock on the floor. I was exploiting her good nature. I forgot to put glass in the dishwasher. I was treating her like a maid. My father, besotted, would gently chide me. "Listen to Rebecca, son. She's trying to make a home for us." Her critiques were needles, not hammers. "You're a bit pale, Ethan. Don't you play outside? That's an interesting way to draw a tree. Your father was so athletic at your age." The message was clear. I was lacking. I was an odd, quiet blot on the perfect picture of the new life she was painting with my dad. When I was 11, she announced she was pregnant. My father was overjoyed. I felt a cold dread pool in my stomach. The baby, a boy they named Jacob, was born when I was 12. From the moment his tiny hand curled around my finger, I felt a fierce, protective love. He was innocent. He was mine. Rebecca's attitude towards me, however, crystallized into something colder. I was no longer just an inconvenience. I was competition for resources, my father's attention, time, and money. I became the built-in babysitter. "Ethan, watch your brother while I shower." "Ethan, he's crying. Go rock him." "Ethan, I need to run an errand. You're in charge." It started as minutes, then hours. My homework was done with Jacob in my lap. My friends stopped calling because I could never guarantee I'd be free. Rebecca's errands grew longer, often coincided with my father's late nights at the office. She'd return smelling vaguely of perfume and wine, criticizing how I'd fed or changed Jacob. The breaking point came one night when I was 14. Jacob was 2, a fussy toddler with a fever. My father was away at a conference. Rebecca had a client dinner. She left at 6 p.m. By 10 p.m., Jacob was burning up, crying inconsolably. I call her phone again and again. No answer. Panicked, I called my father, who was frantic but miles away. He told me to call an ambulance. I did, holding my sobbing brother, feeling a terror I'd never known. At the hospital, as Jacob was being treated for a severe ear infection, Rebecca finally swanned in at midnight, her demeanor shifting from defensive irritation to performative maternal concern when she saw the doctors. She spun a tale for my father about a dead phone battery and a worried rush to the hospital. She then turned to me and, in a voice dripping with fake sweetness, said, "Why didn't you just give him some baby Tylenol, Ethan? You panicked over nothing and scared us all." That was the moment I saw the machinery behind her eyes. She would sacrifice my credibility, even Jacob's well-being, to preserve her own image. My father, exhausted and worried, just wanted peace. He didn't have the energy to dissect the contradictions. The fight died in his eyes. I understood then that I was on my own. My love for Jacob was the only real thing in that house, and it became my anchor. I made a silent vow. I would get out, and I would take him with me if I ever could. I buried myself in school. Academic excellence was my ticket. I got a part-time job at a local library at 16, stashing every dollar away in a secret bank account. Rebecca hated it. "It makes you look like we need the money," she'd sneer. "What will people think?" I didn't care. I was building a lifeboat. The cancer diagnosis came like a silent bomb when I was 18, in my senior year of high school. Stomach cancer, aggressive. My father, the planner, the calculator, was suddenly frail and terrified. And Rebecca? The mask shattered completely. There was no performative grief, no brave facade. It was pure, unvarnished self-preservation. She argued with him about bills, about the mess, about the mood in the house. She started staying out later and later. One Tuesday evening, I came home from the library to find my father weeping silently in his armchair. Jacob, now 6, was huddled beside him, confused and scared. Rebecca was gone. She'd packed 3 suitcases, taken Buster, and left. No note for Jacob. For my father, a scribbled line on a notepad. "I can't do this. I'm sorry." She had, however, taken the jewelry box and the emergency cash from the safe. The abandonment was total. She didn't just leave my dying father. She left her 6-year-old son without a backward glance. The sheer, breathtaking cruelty of it stole the air from my lungs. Jacob clung to me, his small body trembling. "Where's Mom? Is she coming back?" I had no answers. Only a white-hot rage and a crushing sense of responsibility. I became everything at once. A nurse, a parent, a student, a mourner. I bathed my father, administered his medication, helped him to the bathroom. I got Jacob to him from first grade, made his meals, helped with his homework, held him when he cried at night for a mother who had vanished. I missed my final exams, but my school, aware of the situation, worked with me. My college plans, a scholarship to a university 3 states away, hung in the balance. My father's decline was swift. Through it all, Rebecca was a ghost. No calls, no checks, nothing. I tried her parents. Her mother, Irene, answered with a sigh of weary resignation. "Ethan, Rebecca, she's not well. She's made her choices. We can't control her." They offer no help, no solace, just a vague apology for how things turned out. My father died 8 weeks later, holding my hand, his eyes on Jacob sleeping in the chair beside the bed. His last ragged whisper was, "My boys, take care of each other." The funeral was a small, bleak affair. Rebecca's parents came, looking ashamed. Rebecca did not. Jacob held my hand throughout, his face a mask of bewildered grief. In the stark silence after the funeral, Irene and her husband, Robert, approached me. They looked old and defeated. "Ethan," Robert began, his voice gravelly, We can't. Our health. Rebecca is gone. Jacob, the state. I knew what they were asking. The system. Foster care. I looked down at Jacob, who was staring at a wilting flower, looking so utterly lost. I thought of my vow, made years ago in a hospital corridor. I thought of the lifeboat I'd been building. It wasn't meant for two, but it would have to be. He stays with me, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. The legal battle was daunting but straightforward. Abandonment is a powerful word in family court, with testimony from my father's doctors, the funeral director, my school counselors, and even Rebecca's own reluctant parents. I was granted full legal guardianship of Jacob. I was 19. I sold my father's apartment, paid off his medical debts, and with the remaining money in my saved funds, I moved us to a new city, closer to the university that had held my scholarship. They granted me a deferred admission. The next 3 years were a blur of exhaustion and love. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment where Jacob got the bedroom, and I slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. I worked 2 jobs, a daytime admin position, and evening shifts at a copy center. I took online classes at night after Jacob was asleep. It was grueling. There were times I cried from sheer fatigue, times when the weight of it all felt like it would crush me. But there was also Jacob's laughter, his improving grades, the way he started calling me E, as both a brother and a parent. We built a life, a small, sturdy, honest life built on mutual survival and deep, unshakable love. He talked about Mom less and less. When he did, it was with confused sadness, not longing. I was careful to never vilify her, but I didn't lie. She wasn't able to be the mom you needed, Jake. But I am here. I will always be here. I built a wall of legal protection around us. Our address was unlisted. I informed his school that under no circumstances was anyone but me to pick him up. I was his rock, and he was my reason. Then, 3 years to the month after she left, my phone rang. An unknown number with our old area code. A voice I hadn't heard in 1,000 days, now saccharine and tremulous. "Ethan, it's Rebecca. I need to see Jacob." It felt like a punch to the solar plexus. All the old rage, now cold and hard, surged up. "No, you can't keep him from me. I'm his mother." The facade cracked, revealing the familiar entitlement beneath. "You were his mother," I said, my voice icy calm. "You revoked that title when you walked out and left him with a dying man. I am his legal guardian. You have no rights. If you try to contact him, I will get a restraining order so fast it will make your head spin. Do not call this number again." She switched tactics, her voice breaking into fake sobs. I was sick. I was grieving. You have to understand, I've changed. He needs his mother. What he needed, I spat, was someone who didn't see him as baggage. He has that now. It's me. Stay away from us. I hung up and blocked the number. I shook for 10 minutes, then went to Jacob's room. He was 10 now, drawing at his desk. "Jake," I said, sitting beside him, "that was your mom on the phone." He put his pencil down, his young face serious. "What did she want?" "She wants to see you." He was quiet for a long moment, looking at a drawing of us he'd made, stick figures holding hands under a big sun. "I don't want to see her, E," he said finally. "She left us. You stayed." I pulled him into a hug, my heart swelling with a painful, proud love. "Okay, then that's the end of it." I sent a formal, certified letter to Rebecca and her parents, stating Jacob's wishes, reiterating my legal standing, and demanding no further contact. I documented everything. Months passed in peaceful silence. Then a call from Irene. Her voice was tired. "She's gone again, Ethan. The man she left with, it didn't work out. She thought she could just walk back into your lives. We told her it was impossible. We're sorry for all of it. How is Jacob?" "He's happy," I said simply. And it was true. Jacob is now 12. I've graduated and work as a project manager. We live in a small house with a backyard. He's on the soccer team, has a circle of good friends, and still draws pictures of the two of us. He sometimes asks about our father, and I tell him stories, the good ones, about the man who tried his best. Rebecca is a phantom from a bad dream, a shadow that no longer has the power to frighten him. The life we built was forged in abandonment and grief, but its foundation is loyalty and a love chosen every single day. We are not a conventional family. We are a fortress, built by a brother who refused to let go, for a boy who taught him what love truly means. And no one from the past is ever going to breach our walls.